I thought, following the historical and unique win in the Masters this last week by Hideki Matsuyama from Japan, it would be good to do a pro comparison of his swing. Long overdue anyway. One of the really great golfers, but also an incredible iron striker. You will see, playing in the background, clips of his swing, which I hope you enjoy as we go along. You'll see it set up that he has a very athletic stance. He does tend to put his back foot slightly inward as opposed to flared out like most other golfers. That seems to work for him, and he must have a reason why he does that. Feeling comfortable, or maybe it's a feeling in his case. Some that might try that might actually end up spinning out on the downswing, so just be aware of that. At the start you'll see that he has a great amount of coil. So in his case, great amount of coil, but he stays centered over his swing. And you will see that straight front arm, like so many of the good golfers like Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka. Take a look at those clips. And noticeably, he keeps that straight arm all the way through to the top of his backswing. That is, requires a lot of coil and a lot of flexibility. Going all the way to the top, you will see, you'll notice two things. One is he has this pause for a second or so at the top. And he does this, he says, because he wants to keep good tempo and not rush his backswing. I personally have found that trying to emulate that helps me too, so that you're not rushing back, or in his case, rushing back. You take it nice, take it away slow, as you've also seen in clips of Justin Thomas, for example. So that nice, slow takeaway, pause, and then come down. You'll see that straight arm again. You'll see that his front knee remains bent all the way through his top, and I suppose that gives him that adds to that flexibility. Although, as he does that, you will see that he isn't lifting up his front foot as some other golfers do, to give them that width. And as pros, they probably don't need to do that because they have the fitness and flexibility. For senior golfers, it really helps to be able to lift that front foot so that you get a little bit more of the turn and coil than you would otherwise be able to do. On his way down, it's worth noting two things. Like with so many of the other great golfers, the amount of lag that he maintains as he comes down. You will also see as he comes down, his left shoulder is lower than his right, so he is almost coming down like that. And one of the reasons he does that is to not get his club stuck on the way down. So if you are doing it the other way, with your left shoulder too high, if you're a right-hander, then you might get your club stuck. So this way it allows him that free movement to bring the club down. An interesting move. As he comes down into impact, look at that flex of the shaft. So he after that lag, he releases it like a catapult, or like a hammer into the nail, as I've suggested in some of the clips that I've done in Ali's Golf Studio. Do subscribe. Plenty of good stuff there. You will also see that he has maintained his head and eye actually almost behind the ball. His eye is probably left eye dominant because he is, rather than looking with his right eye at the ball, he seems to be looking with his left hand. You will see through impact, he comes slow through impact, a little like Rory McIlroy. And that gives him the ability to bring his arms through nicely onto the ball and be able to bomb his driver in a way that perhaps we also could learn from. You will see his back leg is now lifted nicely at that point. And that shows that all his weight has moved onto his front foot. Notice also that as he comes parallel in his extension, he's still, head is centered, and he's still looking at the point where the ball was. So he doesn't tend to turn his head to look with the ball or his arms. He actually lets that come through before he turns his head. And I think that's part of staying centered as opposed to looking up and perhaps then pulling the ball. So he really has that hugely good athletic and keeps his head straight down. Have a look at the arrows that I draw. So on the finish, look at that very straight super finish with his back leg up on his toes, his arms all the way around, but facing the target. His eyes facing the target, his body facing the target. What a great finish. So he doesn't hesitate and stop. He follows through. A lot of us as amateurs, we tend to make the mistake of trying to look where the ball is, and we then tend to either slightly mishit it by catching it on the toe or catching it on the heel. But he just trusts his swing, goes all the way through, and then obviously towards his finish he perhaps has a slight view of where his ball is and where it's gone. So a few key things that you can look at and learn from Hideki Matsuyama, the latest winner of the Masters in Augusta 2021. Think about that course, the tip of his backswing. Think about staying centered all the way through. Think about that straight arm all the way through your front arm. A few key things, and then think about the way he does his follow through and doesn't get tempted to look at where the ball has gone, stays through the swing and yet comes through to a full finish. That slow turn through impact allows him to really strike the ball hard as he puts his arm through. Think about that lag halfway down before he releases the hammer onto the nail or the catapult. A few key things to take away, to think about, maybe build into your swing over time, and see if it really helps you, both in terms of your distance, in terms of hitting the ball more accurately in the center of the face, in terms of getting better flights on the ball, either a baby draw or a straighter drive. Happy golfing. See you on the flip side. I hope you enjoy it.